Well, hello again, all my off-road vintage dirt bike loving YouTubers, and thanks once more for tuning in to my channel as we take another brief look at more classic dirt bikes from the 1970s and 1980s. So this time round it's a turn of a bike that was to make a huge impact in both motocross and supercross racing. So in this clip, let's have a look at Martin Reid's very nice 1980 YZ 250G monoshock Yamaha. Now, although this bike looks very similar to the previous 1979 model, Yamaha had made some radical changes to the new model for 1980, especially in the suspension department. Now, of course, these YZ Yamahas had a single shock rear suspension system that run from almost the front of the headstock underneath the tank to connect to the alloy swinging arm at the rear. Now, this single shock suspension system was housed inside a tube that doubled as the frame's backbone and had a tendency for fading due to overheating and not being able to be cooled. Now, also this substantial big shock made the bike top heavy as well. But of course Yamaha sorted this issue out on this 1980 model by lowering the shock in the frame and adding a remote reservoir to the single shock, which would be mounted on the frame's down tube, where it could get lots of cooling air. Now, the engine for the YZ 1980 model was also brand new for this year, although the bore and stroke remained as per the 1979 bike. Now, the engine had a brand new 6-speed gearbox with a redesigned gear selector drum. Now, the new motor also had a lightweight aluminium cylinder with a cast steel liner inside with a 2-ring piston. Now, new exhaust porting was also done for the new bike, and a brand new designed Reid valve was also added on the intake. Now, the Reid valve was still made of stainless steel, but this time opened 3mm further for the 1980 bike to increase the fuel flow to that 38mm Mikuni carburetor. But to finish off, the new power package was an all-new airbox, a redesigned exhaust pipe and a large non-rebuildable tailpipe. Now, the Yamaha's rear suspension gave an almost identical amount of travel as per the front end, with almost 12 inches of travel. Now, this was still more than 1.5 inches more than the 1979 bike, but of course on the rear shock adjustments could be made using the 24 position clicker at the base of the shock. But overall, the Yamaha 1980 bike suspension was superb by all accounts. Now, these 1980 250s were fitted with 38mm Kayaba forks and gave the rider, as I mentioned earlier, almost 12 inches of travel, and were very exceptional forks for their time. Although these front suspensions never offered any means of external adjustment for compression or rebound damping other than some fine tuning by adding low pressure air through a Schrader valve at the top of the fork legs. But despite those little idiosyncrasies, the suspension on the front and rear of these 80 Yamaha YZ 250s was still exceptional. Now, as you can see, the remote reservoir for the rear shock was mounted on the down tube of the frame to try and help cool that rear shock. Now, the 1980 plastic fuel tank on the YZ 250 looked almost identical to the 1979 item, but unfortunately these were not interchangeable if you wanted to fit this on to a different YZ Yamaha model. But then again, these big plastic fuel tanks were in keeping with the other big 3 Japanese manufacturers to keep the overall weight of the bike down. Now, that very plush looking Yamaha seat was also lowered for the 1980 machine, and it was a purposeful comfy seat and gave the rider some decent cushioning on even the bumpiest of racetracks. Now, on our featured bike here, Martin doesn't look like he's had a lot of track time with this exhaust system. It looks almost pristine and brand new. It doesn't seem to have had much in the way of battle scars with regards to dings and dents, but very, very nice exhaust system, and there's a nice brap emitted from that lovely D and G alloy tailpipe. Now, Martin's bike, of course, appears to have had a change of wheels during its lifetime, and looks like Martin has fitted a pair of these very high quality XL gold rims along with their associated heavy duty steel spokes, and these of course have been refitted onto the original Yamaha hubs, but nevertheless look absolutely lovely on this 1980 machine. Now, naturally, because of the bike's age, it won't be still fitted with its original controls from 1980, as these are changed quite a few times during a bike's lifetime, but that doesn't retract from the bike being still a very nice looking machine. And as you can see, Martin has fitted a pair of these telescopic rubber gaiters to the fork stanchions to protect him from the ingress of any dirt or water or other foreign debris from the track. Of course, these 1980 machines had their little annoying niggles, as we say, and one of these was the clutch. Was very durable in operation, but seemed to be very heavy to work at the lever, and often the riders complained of cramps while pulling this clutch in and out many times during a race event. And the airbox was also prone to losing its bottom mounting screw, which of course let in all manner of water and other bits of debris into the air filter. But overall, the 1980 Yamaha YZ 250G was an absolute belter of a bike, and was certainly the bike to have if you were a serious motocross racer in 1980. With its powerful little 250 engine, sharp handling and superb suspension, the YZ 250G was the class of the field in 1980, and there were not many 250s who could better it on the track. And so there you have it, what is yet another superb machine from the 1980s. That's Martin Reid's very nice Yamaha YZ250G. Now, of course, there are many more machines waiting to be featured on my channel, and I hope to post more of these classic dirt bikes in the coming weeks. So please continue to browse my channel if you like these type of older classic motocross machines, or better still, just subscribe using that little red button at the bottom right hand side of your screen. Thanks once again for your time, and we will speak again soon. This video was brought to you in association with World Sport, the world's #1 supplier for all your off-road and leisure sportswear. Just visit their online website for more details.